Welcome to BizTalk. I'm Mikhail Raj. Today, we focus on the growing range of cyber attacks on companies in Malaysia. In the absence of decent cyber security systems, companies tend to lose millions of ringgit through such attacks, not to mention the data breaches for which the company could be liable to their clients. So cyber threats, including password attacks, are a growing concern for companies, especially for small and medium-scale enterprises. So the question then is, how can companies and individuals protect themselves against such attacks? Or is it a losing battle against hackers who today seem to have a greater level of sophistication than before? The full details on BizTalk. Welcome back. For more on cyber attacks and corporate losses, we have in the studio Encik Muhammad Anwar Muhammad Yusof. He is the head Cyber Security Industry Engagement and Collaboration Department at Cybersecurity Malaysia. Welcome to the studio, Anwar. How are you today?
Thank you, sir. Not too bad.
Okay, straight on. How vulnerable are Malaysian companies or even SMEs to such cyber attacks?
Okay, I think first and foremost we have to understand nobody is immune when it comes to this.
Okay.
We are all vulnerable for a few factors. One, the applications that we are using, the network that we are using. A brief analogy would be like we are driving a car and the car is without brakes.
Okay.
Okay. So how secure is that? How safe is that? Do you want to go fast? So yes, unfortunately, when we start putting in all these policies and firewalls and it tends to slow our performance a little bit. But I think the key point that we have to understand here is that the question was, how prepared are we? How businesses are?
How vulnerable?
How vulnerable we are? And yes, we are all vulnerable. Okay, we are all vulnerable. And the issue now would be in terms of the protection. Okay, what level of protection we need to do? What is happening with the systems that we are using? Unfortunately, I think this is where when we realize that a lot of the applications themselves are not being properly updated or not being patched.
Okay.
So, okay, fine. I think when it comes to the statistics, we look at the statistics that I have here with me.
Yeah, the question is how widespread are these incidents in Malaysia?
And I think there was news a couple of days back by PDRM in terms of the losses. I believe it was between 1.2 to 2 billion of losses. Yes, these are losses that are including all those
scams and all that. Yeah,
love scam, Nigerians and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. But then what about the number of incidents?
Yes.
How much are they in Malaysia, you know?
Okay, the statistics that we have, is that average on monthly basis between 800 to 1,000 cases that are referred to us. But this is probably only a tip of the iceberg. There could be probably a lot more. But we do not have a dollar value on what is lost. For example, PDRM might have the dollar value on the scams. But when data is taken from your server, when data is taken from your users, how do we put a dollar value on that? I think, you know, it is well known lah. Data is the new oil, and we all generate this oil every day, you know. We make documents, we make spreadsheets, PowerPoint slides and all that stuff. But how is this being protected? And if we look at the incidents that are reported to us, again, as I said, as of 30th June, 4,457 incidents were referred to Malaysian Cybersecurity Malaysia.
How do you rate the number? Is it very high? Because you are talking about the tip of the iceberg. There are so many that are not reported, but I think that's quite a big number.
For reference, if you look at the spam emails that we detected are more than 2 million.
Oh, I see.
And then in terms of the malwares and the botnets that we detected are almost 3.2 million.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot more out there that we have not detected or not being because reporting is not mandatory. It is purely a voluntary basis, and when the cases are referred to us are probably when they have exhausted all means lah.
But that's why these numbers you're talking about is so mind-boggling. Or these data breaches, hacking, virus hacking is so commonplace. So the question: how can these cyber attacks, such as password attacks, or lead to corporate disasters? Talking about huge losses of money.
Okay, I think if we look at the breaches that has happened, in fact, even in the last couple of days, the credit card issuer, Capital One, and even closer to home, Sephora, even the what do you call, the accounts in Sephora were compromised. Why this happens, and how did it happen? Now, again, the vulnerabilities that are in the systems, the software that we are using, has it been patched? It could also be I think the Capital One, if I'm not wrong, it was a disgruntled employee.
Okay. That's a human resource issue,
That's a human
right?
resource issue, yeah.
We'll come to that later and
So,
all that. But then, what about this? The hackers are always one step ahead.
Yeah.
How do we counter that? Is it?
But hackers are definitely going to be ahead of us, and I think this is where, if you look at the applications that we are using, the software that we are using, there could be some smart guy out there who discovered, there is an error, there is a bug in the software. Now, until that error is corrected by the developer, this is the 0 day, and that bug, that error can be exploited by the hackers. And sometimes we as users, we are not aware of this. So these are the issues that we are facing.
Yeah, indeed, Anwar, a lot more to talk about the cyber security, especially cyber threats and attacks. The numbers you gave were mind-boggling, but hold your thoughts. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. Anwar, when talking about cyber attacks, is data theft more vulnerable when employees are using their mobile devices, particularly they want to share data or access information, or even neglect to change their mobile passwords?
A lot of companies are encouraging, or maybe due to cost-wise employees are allowed to bring their own devices BYOD. So BYOD is good, because if you're going to wait for your boss to give you a new handphone or a new notebook, it might take ages, or sometimes it might never happen. But the thing is this: when you allow your staff to bring their own handphone, their own notebook to office to work, what are the consequences? Have we thought of the implications if this staff resigns, if this staff leaves, or he loses the device?
But then the other thing is that the devices are here to stay. We work from the homes, we work from a mobile, and things like that. So what is the alternative then?
Well, it is not about alternative, because this is going to happen, and this is the new reality lah. The risks are definitely there. Cybersecurity is not going to get any easier. It's going to get more difficult, because we are expecting our staff to be able to work from anywhere at any time. It's like, for example, my boss now doesn't send me an email. He sends me a WhatsApp message. He could be somewhere in Moscow, in US, time difference, but the message has got to be responded to. So yes, we look at the productivity side of it, but have we considered the threats that comes with it? Have we looked into what if the handphone is lost? What if the notebook is lost? Because I think on daily basis, if I'm not wrong, in US, on a daily basis or by minute basis, it's like 100 plus notebooks or handphones are lost. So I think the figure in Malaysia also could be roughly around the same. So there is a lot of information now in our handphones. These are smart, powerful devices. 8 gig RAM, 12 gig RAM, or this new handphones, and the storage are like 256. So a lot of information is stored on these handphones. Now, what if company data is there as well? Has that data been encrypted? Do we have a BYOD policy, part of our overall IT security policy? Do we have mobile device management? In the event you lose a handphone, Are you allowed to remote wipe the handphone?
Basically, the employees are left to their own devices and all that.
Exactly, yeah. The employees are left to their own
But
devices.
one more issue is that the World Economic Forum, they have said that how new instabilities are being caused by the deepening integration of digital technologies. That means this fraud, as a result of this, fraud and hacking is only set to increase further this year and next, you know.
Yes, we are looking at the fourth industrial revolution, 4IR. And with 4IR, you have all the other pillars as well. Artificial intelligence, big data, cloud, systems integration, and cybersecurity is one of the 9 pillars. So yes, definitely, this is going to increase. We are now looking at IoT attacks. We are looking at attacks on CCTVs, on devices. So it is unfortunately going to increase. Our job is not going to be easier in the next coming years. We have not even considered what kind of attacks on artificial intelligence might be. We might have, you know, robots going around being compromised. I don't know. I hope we don't see that lah. But reality is, some of those instances needs to be looked into. Cloud security, for example, we trust a lot of our information, a lot of our data on the cloud. What precautions are we doing? Is this data encrypted? I'm not sure about this.
So to be more specific about Malaysia, the question is, how is the situation in Malaysia? Are Malaysian corporates at risk? Is there a lack of education or awareness over the importance of protecting password and even protecting all your data? And also, are hackers targeting small and medium-scale enterprises, you know?
Okay, let's start with the government first. Okay, and I think overall the government has done a pretty good job when it comes to managing cyber risk. One, we have our national cybersecurity policy. This was crafted in 2006, and we address the issue of cyber risk and issue of knowledge as well. There is these 8 pillars that are addressed. For example, the technical, enforcement, international relationships, and as well as there is also another policy on national cryptography policy. And fair enough, there are also a lot of new policies that are being drafted and crafted along the way. Now, government looks at cybersecurity and information security very seriously. We even have a committee on e-sovereignty as well. Now, what about the companies? Are the companies looking at cybersecurity in a serious manner or not? Okay. Part of our national cybersecurity policy, we have this definition of critical national information infrastructure, CNII. For example, certain infrastructure cannot be compromised, cannot be down. For example, our power grid, or even the financial network. You don't want your ATM to be blacked out, right? Okay, you want your ATM to be on. You want power to be on at all times. So these are the measures that the government have taken. Now, coming back to the companies, what are the measures that they have taken? Do they have a chief information security officer? Do they have a risk manager? Do they have an IT security policy? Do they allow BYOD, as what we were discussing just now?
But all these safeguards that you're talking about also entails costing. So some of the companies, especially the smaller companies, I don't know, they might have a problem affording such security, you see. And some of them complain that sometimes these threats are overemphasized, so that these IT companies actually can sell their products, like the Millennium Bug, you know, in 2000.
Agree, you know, I mean, to some extent, if you look at the Y2K thing, but I guess a lot of measures was taken in consideration. But unfortunately, cybersecurity is not Y2K. Cybersecurity are threats, are attacks that are happening every day. Millions of new malwares are being developed, being created. I mean, these are actually only programs. But these programs, one, steal your data, steal your credentials. So are we just going to sit here and not do anything? Are we going to sit down here and say, unfortunately, yes, sir, your software is very expensive, so I'm going to use an illegal software? What are the risks that comes with when you look at this illegal software? When that product is not patched, when there are all these 0 days out there, you are taking a risk. If you can afford to bet your company, then unfortunately.
That means basically what you're trying to say is that our SMEs, in the absence of such defense system, are vulnerable really.
Well, it is not just SMEs. I guess it's everybody to that extent. But agreed, Okay, look at it in this perspective. SMEs are important to our economy. Okay, they contribute 40% to the GDP, about 68% employment. Now, the question here is, what mitigating factors are they taking in to protect their information? Fair enough, we have manufacturing companies that what is more important to them is to produce a product. Or we have retail companies where they are selling product. Now, the information that they have might not be critical in that sense, but bear in mind there are still information there. Customer information, product information, intellectual property. How are all this information being protected? Now, this is the question that they have to ask themselves. Can I afford to lose this? And what happens if I lose my intellectual property?
So actually, a lot more to talk about, because I want to talk about the how cyber attacks can use extortion, can use espionage, based on information, all that. But hold on your thoughts. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are talking about cyber security. Anwar, before we went for the break, talking about all this espionage and all that, we even have cases where companies have come out with insurance products designed to protect businesses of all sizes from cyber risks, and it is said to be proliferating in the ASEAN region. What does that say about all these insurance products?
It's definitely something good. The only thing is, from my experience, it could be a little bit costly for SMEs, because
you have to pay for the cyber defense and also insurance.
Correct. Because when the so-called evaluator or auditor comes, he will first and foremost make sure that you are not using any illegal software. So everything must be legal.
Looks like that will rule out a lot of the smaller companies.
So that is number one. And then there was also an incident recently where the attack was categorized as a cyber war, an act of war. Okay, what happened was this company, Mondelez, it makes all these Oreo cookies and everything, and they have an operation in Ukraine. And they were attacked on ransomware by this malware called NotPetya. And then the American government categorized this as a cyber war because it was like purportedly from the another country side. So what happened was that the insurance company, they said that, oh look, this is an act of war, the force majeure comes in, we can't entertain this. So now this is an interesting issue that is going on. Now, if a cyber attack is considered as an act of war, to what extent will insurance cover? So this is something interesting that I think we can go in detail and talk about it.
We need a whole new program for that.
New program for this.
But also there's a growing tendency for cyber criminals to focus on smaller professional businesses. I'm talking about accounting and law firms, mainly because to use their data for extortion and espionage purposes. So it's such a big risk now. So what do we do?
Okay, we have to understand a lot of these companies, like for example the legal fraternity, the accounting firms, they are dealing with customer data, and this customer data is extremely valuable in the deep web. Okay, now
what is the deep web or the dark web?
Okay, now the surface web that you can Google and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, this is the surface web. This is something that we can search with our Google search engine. But what is underneath there, the dark web there, are those that are now indexed information. Okay, so there are a lot of forums down there that are selling personal data. So each one of these data could be worth $10, $50, depends. So that personal data is extremely valuable, and that is what is happening now. So all those customer details, the personal data is stolen and being sold down there. It's an active economy down there. It's a dark economy on its own.
Okay, because the related to that is that everybody will be concerned about their banking accounts and their transactions. So when you have all these online banking transactions and your accounts, are they foolproof safe?
Well,
Once you put your password in the web, you know.
okay. I will take this measure. Okay. I will definitely not look at my main account. Let's say now the account that I'm getting in my salary.
Yeah.
I will definitely not be putting this on online purposes. But I do have a secondary account where I transfer my money manually or through ATM, and this is the account that I use for online purposes to pay credit card bills, so on and so forth. So I manage my risk, okay? Because if let's say now I'm getting my pay in this account, I can't afford to lose this. But okay, whatever amount that I transfer here, 1,000 ringgit, 500 ringgit, this is my risk appetite.
So you can count your losses there.
Yes, correct. I can.
But it also shows that we are still vulnerable, no matter what.
Definitely, we are vulnerable. I mean, there are issues on the network security as well. Is the data that is being transmitted encrypted? What about the server side? So some of these factors are beyond our control. Bank Negara is doing a fantastic job. I think when it comes to the internet online banking, and as well as they are coming up with a new document. It's called RMIT, Risk Management IT, and a lot of these issues are being covered. I guess when it comes to our financial sector, we are pretty well protected. But having said that, manage your risk. Do not put all eggs in one basket.
Yeah, where are the attacks coming from when you're talking about cyber attacks? Are they domestic or are they international? Is there certain regions?
There is no such particular. I think when it comes to cyber attacks, there are the threats that we know, and there are some of these threats that we do not know yet. But unfortunately, there are also some of the threats that are from our adversaries. For example, there are these nation-state actors. I guess for financial purposes. For example, have you heard of the Bangladesh Central Bank of Bangladesh heist, where the attackers were from a country, and they've done their homework. They opened up bank accounts in Manila, and then they waited for a couple of months, and then they planted the malware in the Central Bank of Bangladesh, and then they sent instructions to Federal Reserve in New York to transfer over $1 billion.
I would like to meet these guys, you know.
I don't know whether you will recognize them, even if you meet them.
You don't know.
Because we don't know.
That's the dark web.
That's the dark web, because we do not know. And fortunately, the bank clerk found some typo errors.
I see.
And then when he tried to get the corrections, he managed to stop that $1 billion transaction. But still, 81 million US was transferred over. So yes, I think this is a lesson to all of us. If a central bank can be vulnerable, what measures we as individuals need to take?
I think a lot more steps need to be taken in Malaysia to guard against security breaches and cyber attacks and all that. Anyway, thank you for the insight into cyber security and all that. I think it's a challenge for both the companies and to ward off against the hackers and things. I think a lot to see and experience these things and all that kind of thing. But I think basically, whatever you said and done, we are still vulnerable.
We are vulnerable.
So Anwar, thank you very much for the insight. Hope to have you back for more discussions on this as far as the fourth industrial revolution progress.
Okay.
That's all for Biz Talk today. Until the next time, bye for now.